All right, everybody. Good afternoon, late afternoon now. Hope you guys are doing well. And I looked at a little bit of Mason Richman tape. I decided to pick one of his best games, which obviously came from last year because it was his best year, and it ended up being also one of like two games that I could actually look at because Iowa State's offense didn't get a lot of there aren't a lot of cut-ups out there. There aren't a lot of full game reels out there. Excuse me, not Iowa State. Iowa's offense was not exactly appealing to a lot of people, and I can understand why. Not exactly a greatest show on turf they've got over there, but I did get their game at home against Iowa State in week 2 of 2024, so that's the game we're going to be looking at, and was also a good game for him. 68 snaps, little bit more run than pass, but almost even, 32 to 36. No pressures allowed, no penalties, 77.4, which was one of the highest graded games of his career. So that's what we're going to take a look at here. We should get his better half in a game like this. Please like this video. Click the thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support the channel. All right. So again, I'm not going to do the clips in the video. We're just going to go ahead and do the timestamps, and you can follow along if you want to. First play of the game, he climbs up to crash down into the side of a linebacker to clear the way for run. This was a pretty decent rep. You watch him in space, you watch him run, you watch him play. He's clearly not super mobile. He's clearly not super adept at playing at the second level, but he can at least get to his landmark on a play like this. And it's definitely not clean, but it's, at the very least, he has a lot of experience doing it. Next play, it looks like he's leaking out to block for a screen, and he just doesn't get to where he needs to get. I think this is just an example of him not being a very good athlete. We talked about this earlier today. His 40 time at his pro day was like 5.39 or something, and that's a pro day. So he might be slower. So just understand, you're going to see reps like this where he just cannot get to his marker in time because everyone's faster than him. A couple minutes later, like how aggressive he is shooting out of his stance on reps, and that is an advantage that he's going to need. Because in the NFL, he's really going to be at an athletic disadvantage, and the only way he can overcome it is by rocketing out of his stance. Next play, he generates some push without getting leverage by just using a good angle, just positioning himself relative to the defender well and being able to drive him back because the defender can't anchor down or really fight back that well. There's a good amount of that as well. I think his technique is good. And again, he needs it in order to win. A couple minutes later, gets beat to the outside, but does an adequate job recovering back. Good example of him not having the quickness to keep up, but he doesn't give up. And he does manage to kind of sort of get in the way of the edge rusher. A few minutes later, he uses his punch in a way that I think is pretty effective to repel a rusher back. Stalls out his momentum and even gets him kind of just pushed back a little bit. Not easy to do. Next rep, they put him in space again, and he still just doesn't look super comfortable to me. We're seeing more signs of him maybe not being able to do this stuff very well in the NFL, which is a big problem because that's what he did in college. A few minutes later, shows good lateral quickness to get out to his left and block. I think that his athleticism doesn't really show up when he's actually running into the open field. You see it a little bit better when he's trying to move laterally or moving in small spaces like this. Next play, I think he whiffed at the second level on this play. It just looks really awkward. Maybe it was in the intent, but it looks like he whiffs at the second level. Just another example of him kind of oversetting in space to try to probably make up for the fact that he's not the most athletic guy. Plays a clean game of violent patty cake with the rusher here to keep him back. Overall, I thought his pass sets were pretty good in this game. Less than a minute left in the first quarter. Overshoots and sets too far inside when climbing up to get to the linebacker. It's that thing we talked about earlier where one of his listed flaws, one of his listed cons was he tends to overshoot on his climbs to the second level. Last play of the first quarter, he does a good job watching the edge drop into coverage in front of him and then sliding over to help the defensive tackle. It's a good example of him keeping his head on a swivel and realizing that he needs to go help because his man is not doing what he expected. Second quarter now has a good rep in pass protection, uses length to keep the rusher at bay well, just keeping his arms out straight in front of him and not letting him get into his chest. And remember, he has short arms, so there's something to that for sure. A couple minutes later, he meets the linebacker in hole for run blocking. He hits his target, hits his mark, but not a lot of knockback. And early in this game, I found myself finding him to just be a little bit lacking in the strength and power department. A few minutes later, he does get some pushback on the edge in a run blocking rep here. 7:08 left in the second quarter with upper body strength, not leverage or anything like that. He just gets UBS going, and upper body strength wins the day. Nothing really until about the 2-minute warning. On this play, he didn't really have any impact on the play itself, but I like how he gets inside his man to cut off the angle to the ball carrier because the run's going to the other side of the field. And I like how he kind of makes sure his body is positioned in a way where he's cutting off the angle the defender has. Next play, he gets some help here, but he does get a big push on a 3rd and 1 fullback dive for a first down. So there is some knockback here. There is some power play here. Show some lateral quickness to slide inside to pick up a blitzing linebacker with about 1:33 left. And as the second quarter goes on, I'm starting to see more power in his run blocking. He's getting some movement. He's pushing guys back. He's clearing the way. It's starting to get a little bit better as this game goes on, I feel like. And that is the way things typically go for run blocking. It gets better the more tired the defense gets. Footwork and balance allows him to keep in front of rushers. I think he does a really good job shuffling his feet and mirroring and not getting caught in a spot where he's going to have to lunge or lean heavily on his athletic ability, which is very limited. Then we get to our third quarter here. This rep with 8:42 left drives a man back several yards to clear way for a big cutback lane. So I thought this was a good run blocking rep. He did get the angle on his man, but he did his job really well. Next play, he climbs up to get to the linebacker on run, but this is a whiff. The defender just kind of slides off of him and goes to make a play on the ball. Just really, really hit or miss when he's in space, it feels like. And I know that was a significant part of what he did in college, but I'm a little bit worried about how this works in the NFL. Everyone's just going to be a little more stronger and athletic. Same play, next play, but this time he actually lands the block, squares up well, but there's no sustain. So his guy actually gets off him and actually goes to help make a play. So not a great play, but certainly better. He at least hit his target. Just not quick or fleet of foot enough. Okay, actually, I mean, that should be that. Just not fleet of foot enough to get his landmark here. Another play where he's climbing up. He's trying to get to a linebacker, but he's just not fast enough, and the linebacker just goes around him. It's a frustrating play. So I look at something like this, and I go, how is this going to work in the NFL? If he can't hit that play, which Iowa asks him to hit a pretty decent percentage of the time, it's hard to imagine it works in the NFL. Blast edge back with powerful blocking rep, clears way for touchdown. Good play here, just kind of drives his man away from the ball carrier. And as this goes on, you do see some run blocking pop. And that might be his key to finding NFL success. That might be what he has to transition to. And there are some signs that he can do it. A couple minutes later, good technique to guide the defensive tackle wide and away from the pocket. He picks him up and just kind of leads him on a wide arc that is far away from the quarterback. So, like what I see there. Now we're in the fourth quarter. He's definitely lumbering in the open field. Another play where he's climbing up to the next level, but he does square up on the linebacker adequately. So there's some good stuff here. This next play I'm a little bit confused on. I think he blocks the wrong guy. He goes inside to help on the tackle, and the edge just gets a free run. But it's a zone read, and the quarterback gave up the ball when he probably shouldn't have, but it's Cade McNamara, so he shouldn't be keeping the ball in a zone read like ever. So I don't really know what to say about this play. It looks like Richman blocks the wrong guy, but it might have been by design, and it was supposed to be a keeper, but I don't know. That one's confusing to me. This next play is interesting because there's no edge that Richman has to cover. Instead, the outside cornerback blitzes, and he has to get very lateral very quickly in order to get out to him. And he doesn't get hands on the corner, but he does manage to force the corner to widen his arc and not be able to get to the quarterback. So it's a nice rep, actually. That was something that I think stands out on the tape. A couple minutes later, good form on a chop block. It's a run to the right. He's obviously on the left side, so all he has to do is get low, take his man out at the thighs, and get him on the ground for a second. And that's all you need to do on a play like that. Does it? Good sustain on a run play up the gut to keep his man occupied. I thought he stayed attached to his man well here on this rep. Down to 6 minutes in the fourth quarter, it's another chop block. This one's on the play side, and it works, but barely. He doesn't get his man to the ground, but he does get him off balance, and that's enough to allow the play to get through, but not a great rep, not the best rep. Pulls out to the left, but there's really no one there to block, so it was an example of him going on a pulling block adventure, but nothing to hit. Gets beat badly by speed to outside, but the quarterback is bootlegging away, so it ends up not really affecting the play, but he just got pantsed to his outside shoulder. 2 minutes, 50 seconds in the fourth quarter now. Another nice clear out block, driving his man back many yards to help clear up that run lane. So you're seeing the power as this game goes on. I have to give him credit here. Another angle block to a defensive tackle side to get him down and clear way for a run play here. And then the final play of the game, which was the Hail Mary. Iowa really blew this game. They had no business losing this game. Hail Mary doesn't work, but I do like how he keeps his man in front of him and protects against a second effort or third effort rush. He's able to kind of sustain the block without actually sustaining it. So pretty good tape, man. Pretty good tape. I'm worried about him pulling up to the second level. I'm worried about him blocking in space. But I do like his lateral agility, and I think his power might... There's at least something there. I don't know. What do you guys think? See you guys later. Go Hawks. One more rookie tomorrow.